Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie. Welcome back to another UCL semifinal DraftKings Slate breakdown. So, we just finished what game was it? Oh God, the Bayern Real Madrid game. I've already forgotten about. Moved on to the next one. But now we got Dortmund PSG. Another first leg here. Pretty even odds, similar to what Bayern was. Although what's interesting here is that PSG are the favorites despite being away. Which kind of shows you how much the bookies kind of really think that they're that much of a better team than Dortmund. In terms of like the odds, both teams have scored super high. Like all the games so far for these first leg knockout ties have been super high scoring. So that makes a ton of sense. Pretty high goal total. These teams played together or played against each other in the group stages because they were grouped together. It's interesting now that it's kind of like the third match. I think PSG's 1-1 and drawn one when they played. But this is a whole different ball game now in the knockout rounds. In terms of projected lineups and set takers for Dortmund, it should be mostly Brandt. However, Sancho took a pretty decent chunk last league game, which scares me a tiny bit. For PSG, if it's this lineup, it should be Dembele almost everything. We could see Lee Kang in and he'll take a share. They actually split last game when Lee Kang in came on, which is a little strange because usually when Lee starts, he's kind of the monopoly set taker. So they're a little strange these days. However, Dembele just is a solid player for floor, and even if he doesn't take anything, he usually offers quite a bit of just random points. Prices. Mbappe, far and away the most expensive player, 12.4. For cash, you probably just play. Although I think there's a real argument to fade in GPP for that much. And if you're playing for a goal fest, you can get a lot of other goal scorers in a more balanced build without Mbappe, within his giant salary he takes up. Dembele 10.4. That's a fair price for him considering he's been taking set pieces, 11 crosses last game. Like that's just crazy. Five shots too, because he takes so many shots usually. So he's a lock for sure. In cash and GPP, I'm gonna have a ton too. Even with Lee Kang in potentially. Still love Dembele. Now Julian Brandt, 9,200. That's expensive. He's a guy that I don't perceive to have a ton of upside. I know he got that goal against Atletico Madrid, but PSG is not going to play like Atleti. They're a lot more of a possession-based team. Luis Enrique has always been a super tiki-taka kind of coach. And because of that, I worry a little bit of Brandt's ability to get there, considering he's never been that much of a goal contribution guy. He might not have a monopoly anymore with Sancho in, and he gets substituted a lot. He played 90 last league game, which also worries me a little bit. I think they'd sub him if they were intending him to go the distance in this UCL game. And there's just a lot of issues that I have with Brandt. Just never my kind of guy. I'm afraid of guys who get subbed a lot like he does. And if he doesn't have Monopoly, that scares me a ton. But he'll be super popular. I think it'll be a big decision whether you jam him or not. Especially if you go Mbappe and Dembele, it makes it super tight to fit a Brandt too. But it's doable. Malin 9K, questionable, doubtful. We'll see if he's in. He's a good little player. Although he didn't do anything in either of the two games they played in PSG. That's the other thing I'm kind of looking at is who did well when they play each other in the group. I think that's a good kind of way to tell how they like just a good way to see how they match up against each other. Like Dembele, look at that. He had 14 crosses, 6 shots when they played him. It just shows how good he was there. And he didn't play the first time they played. Ramos probably not going to play. Lee King in 8,600. That's also too much for me. Another guy who has less of a certain set piece role as he's had in the past. He's been priced up a decent amount from what he usually is, I feel like. He's kind of right where he was, but this is a tougher matchup. and with steeper pricing. Like he gets up for sure. I'm not thinking I'm gonna risk it. He's similar to Brandt, like actually in a lot of different ways. Both kind of those box to box midfielders who don't have a ton of upside. So that's kind of an end to where my set piece obsession is when they are that scary for minutes and you don't have upside, then you have to think about maybe these set pieces aren't worth chasing that hard. Now, Fulkrug, I think he'll be popular in GPP. People might even pick him in cash. I don't think I'll get there though, considering you've got an Mbappe and a Dembele on this slate who are going to eat up a ton of your salary if you play them both, and they're just a lot more solid in terms of floor. Asensio didn't take a thing actually last league game with Dembele, so I kind of know who has priority there. I don't think he'll play, and even if he does, like he's more of just another upside GPP play. Royce 8K. If he starts to know Brant, usually means he takes some set pieces. Another guy though who probably gets subbed if he starts. Sabitzer and Adeyemi. They're both all right. Sabitzer had that crazy game against Atleti, but seems like an anomaly a bit to me. Adeyemi, another guy who is on minutes watch, does not play 90 ever. Eh. Now Sancho took some set pieces with Brant on. He plays a lot of minutes these days, and like recently he's got 90 quite a bit. I think there's a real argument to play him. 7K is a fair price on a game with a high goal total. I'm gonna have a lot in GPP, and I might even go in cash. He's super tempting. Like you can definitely go a more balanced build, where you maybe fade Brant in favor of like your Hakimis and your Sanchos. Because I love Hakimi here. He's always a super solid player. Like he'll take his 7 to 10 he usually offers. He gets a ton of goal contributions too, despite being a right back. Hasn't gotten a ton UCL, but you look at his league numbers and they're pretty impressive. Scored a goal last league game. I might even have him in my core over Brandt, is how much I love Hakimi here. Barcola. Ugh, the PSG attackers are so scary considering they have so many options and they rotate them all so much. Was solid against Barcelona though. Like he's been getting pretty decent points despite his limited minutes. He's definitely a good option. Both the goalkeepers like Donnarumma and Koble, both the type of guys who either drop negative points or a ton of saves. Um, they're definitely in play. With how steep prices are, they're pretty high upside for that cheap. They're pretty good in GPP, I feel like, because of that. For cash, I could even get behind it. So I'm not sure. They're both goalkeepers who I think are pretty solid in terms of save ability. They both take a lot of, they both take a lot of shots and they make pretty good amounts of saves usually. Like Kobel's not had a bad game since that PSG game, interestingly enough. So yeah, I think they're both in play. Matson 5,200, that's not bad. Ryerson 4,200, that's not bad. Nuno Mendes 4,400. I think almost everyone is in play here. Bit of a 50-50 game. Hard to really predict how it'll go. It should be high scoring though if we are to believe how these games have been going. However, we can definitely maybe go for a GPP build where you just play a 0-0 or play for low scoring just to get off of what the field is doing. Because I feel like goalkeepers won't be that owned considering the high goal total and how these first legs have been. There's a little bit of ownership leverage there. And there's like there's a lot of like pretty nice 3K punts, which makes it easier to cram those big names of Mbappe and Dembele and Brandt even. Like Marquinhos 3K is good. Oh, I bit my tongue. Yeah. Chan 3,200 is good. Oz Chan 3,200 isn't bad. So there's definitely an argument to go for the studs and scrubs build. It was a tough slate. A lot of ways you can go. For my cash score, I'd probably go Mbappe, Dembele, and Hakimi, I think. If I put Branton, it kind of makes you have to shoehorn a lot more than you'd like. So that's what I do for a core. And yeah, not a ton to really talk about here. It's a showdown, so they're always just a lot more kind of hard to play more cashy, I want to say, similar to like a classic where you just pick set takers largely. So yeah, showdown slate should be fun. Hope you get the right combos. That'll be it, guys. Good luck, and I'll see you for the next video. Peace.